Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. My name is Emily Stone, and I'm 20 years old. At this stage of life, people often say you're meant to embrace the chaos, discover who you are, and learn from missteps. I, however, believed I'd already mapped out my path. His name was Ethan, and for 4 years he was my world. I held a steady job as a project coordinator at a mid-sized tech company. A solid role with decent pay and a reputation for dependability in an industry full of empty promises. But my true pride wasn't in my work. It was Ethan, the man who turned even mundane errands into moments of joy. I thought we were crafting a lasting future together, that his family would one day be my own. I was mistaken. From the start, Ethan's parents, Robert and Margaret, sized me up like I was an item on a shelf, not a person. Robert, 58, owned a custom architectural materials business that had once thrived, but was now crumbling under mismanagement. Margaret, 56, had a knack for weaving criticism into casual chatter. So, Emily, she'd say with a syrupy smile, what does a project coordinator do exactly? Is the salary enough to support a family? Her words were polite, but cut deep. 8 months ago, their disapproval became undeniable when Ethan shared that Robert's company was failing. Bad deals, missed chances, and mounting debts had left him reeling. I loved Ethan, so his distress became mine. In that moment, I thought I could make a difference. My father, unlike Robert, led a thriving property development firm. They were launching a major project that required specialized architectural work. I pitched the idea to him. Robert's company could take on the job. My father, cautious by nature, had his team investigate. Their findings were bleak. Robert's business was a mess, poorly run, and barely afloat. Still, he trusted my judgment. He offered $1 million subcontract with strict oversight and a key clause: termination for convenience, allowing us to pull out at any time with a $75,000 penalty. This is your safety net, Emily, he told me, his gaze unwavering. Use it if you need to. When I shared the news, Ethan's relief was palpable. He held me like I'd saved him from disaster. Robert gripped my hand with such force I felt my bones protest. Margaret's smile, for once, seemed less guarded, her eyes glinting with ambition. For a time, things improved. Robert started calling me daughter. Margaret eased up on her pointed questions. Their warmth felt transactional, but I wanted to believe it was genuine. Yet, as the money rolled in, their old arrogance resurfaced. Robert boasted about his comeback. Margaret began planning a lavish wedding far beyond what Ethan and I had envisioned. The turning point came one evening over drinks in their immaculate living room. I cautiously raised concerns about the wedding's soaring costs, noting it was twice what we could afford. Margaret's laugh was sharp, cutting. Oh, Emily, don't be so small-minded. A wedding is a statement of success. I kept my voice even. With respect, Margaret, it's our wedding and we need to keep it within our means. Robert's chest swelled with pride. Emily, you're a competent coordinator, but you lack ambition. Ethan needs someone who sees what this family is becoming again. The room grew still. I looked to Ethan, silently pleading for support, but he just stared into his glass, avoiding my gaze. That silence spoke louder than words. Margaret leaned in, her voice smooth but laced with venom. You're a kind girl, Emily, but you're a means to an end, not the end itself. Ethan deserves someone who matches his status. Then Ethan spoke, his voice low but resolute. They're right, Emily. I'm sorry. This isn't working. We should call off the wedding. It wasn't a bolt of lightning that hit me. It was a slow, chilling frost spreading through my core. I had given them my heart, my loyalty, my family's resources, and they discarded me like a tool they no longer needed. I didn't shout or plead. I set my glass down, stood, and murmured, I understand. My legs shook as I walked out. I sat in my car in their driveway for 10 agonizing minutes, hands trembling on the steering wheel. The drive home was a blur, but one thought cut through. They had used me, and beneath the heartbreak, a quiet, determined anger took root. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying Margaret's biting laugh, Robert's inflated ego, Ethan's silence that wounded deeper than any words. By dawn, my tears had hardened into resolve. I called the one person who had always had my back, my father. His voice was sleepy but sharp in the moment I said, "It's over with Ethan." He asked, "What happened, Emily?" I swallowed, the words bitter. They decided I wasn't good enough. They don't want me in their family now that their business is secure. A pause. Then his voice turned firm. "That clause I mentioned, the termination for convenience. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" I hesitated. It wasn't vengeance I craved, or maybe it was. Maybe I needed them to feel the sting of betrayal they'd left me with. "Yes," I whispered. "I want to cancel the contract." My father didn't hesitate. "It'll cost us a bit and some hassle, but family comes first." By noon, the legal team had drafted the notice. It landed on Robert's desk, dissolving $1 million deal in one swift, decisive move. At first, my phone stayed quiet. Then the calls started. Robert's number flashed first. I let it ring. Then Ethan, then Margaret. Voicemails stacked up. "Emily, this has to be a mistake. Call me back now." "Emily, what's going on?" "My dad says the contract's gone." "Fix this. This can't be real. You wouldn't do this." I didn't respond. I needed the quiet. But inside, a storm brewed. I had loved Ethan, fought for his family when no one else would, and with one call, I'd undone the lifeline I'd built. Ethan's second voicemail nearly broke me. His voice trembled with fear. "My dad took out a loan expecting the full contract. He has payroll to meet. If this isn't fixed, he's done. Please, Emily, talk to your dad. Say it's a mistake." My hand hovered over the call button. A part of me that still loved him urged me to help. But then I recalled his silence, how he let his parents tear me apart while he did nothing. This wasn't a mistake. It was justice. By evening, their messages turned desperate. Robert's voice cracked with panic. "You don't get it, Emily. The penalty fee doesn't cover my next shipment. I'm exposed. I'll lose everything." It hit me then he hadn't just used the contract to stabilize, he'd borrowed heavily against it, assuming the money was guaranteed. The $75,000 penalty my father's company paid wouldn't even touch his debts. Their empire wasn't just shaky, it was hollow. By casting me aside, they'd handed me the power to bring it down. I didn't smile or revel in it, but I felt the shift. For the first time, I wasn't the one pleading to belong, they were. The next day, my phone became a war zone. Ethan called, his voice raw. "Emily, this was just a fight. My parents went too far, okay? You can't ruin lives over words. We can fix this. Call your dad. Reinstate the contract. You love me, I know you did. Don't let this be the end." His words stirred memories of his warmth, how his hand in mine once felt like home. But then I remembered his silence when I needed him most. "This wasn't just a fight, Ethan," I said evenly. "It was the truth. And now you're facing the consequences." He pleaded, then turned angry. "You'll regret this, Emily. You're cold." Then he hung up. By evening, Margaret was waiting outside my apartment, her polished appearance fraying at the edges, her eyes tired. "Emily," she said softly, stepping forward like a remorseful mother rather than the woman who'd cut me down. "We're so sorry. Stress makes people say things they don't mean. Don't punish us all for one tense night." Her voice was laced with false warmth, but her eyes were sharp, calculating. "You meant every word," I replied, my tone steady as steel. She hurried to keep up as I walked to my car. "Think of Ethan," she urged, her voice cracking just enough to seem convincing. "He's heartbroken. He still loves you. And think of the workers, dozens of families, who'll lose everything if Robert can't pay them. Do you want that on your conscience, Emily, just because your feelings were hurt?" I stopped and faced her. "My feelings." My voice trembled with anger, not weakness. "Your family used me, my love, my father's company, my trust. And when you were done, you tossed me aside. That's not about feelings. That's about your greed." Her mask slipped, revealing a flash of coldness. "Then at least let Ethan keep the ring," she snapped. "It's the least he deserves for the pain you've caused." I couldn't believe her nerve. That ring, a sapphire I'd chosen for its match to Ethan's eyes, wasn't just jewelry. It was a promise now broken. She wanted to claim it as a trophy for discarding me. I didn't respond. I unlocked my car, got in, and shut the door in her face. Through the window, I saw her lips twist into a bitter smirk before she walked away. Driving off, my grip on the wheel was so tight my knuckles whitened. They weren't just desperate, they were entitled, believing they could still take from me even in their downfall. But if Margaret thought the ring was theirs to keep, she'd just awakened a new resolve in me. This wasn't just about the contract anymore. It was about justice, and it wouldn't be soft. For a week, there was quiet. No calls, no visits, just an unsettling stillness that made me wonder if they'd accepted their fate. But silence isn't peace, it's strategy. Whispers reached me through shared contacts. Margaret had weaponized gossip, painting me as unstable, vengeful, a spoiled girl who used her father's power to crush her fiancé's family out of spite. In her version, I wasn't the one who'd saved Robert's company. I was a manipulative partner who controlled Ethan with contracts. When he stood up to me, I struck back. The audacity was staggering. Some acquaintances bought the lies, sending me judgmental texts. Wow, Emily, didn't think you were like that. Or worse, can't you just forgive him? Each message stung, but the wounds were shallow. My closest friends quashed the rumors. My father's company, when asked, issued a brief statement. The contract was terminated per standard rights. A new vendor has been secured. No drama, just facts. That clarity dismantled Margaret's narrative. But one thing lingered, the impact on Robert's employees. Industry whispers confirmed the bank had called in his loan. Suppliers demanded cash up front. Payroll checks failed. Workers were laid off just before the holidays. Guilt gnawed at me. These people hadn't mocked me or called me a stepping stone. They were casualties of Robert's hubris and Margaret's greed. One sleepless night, I whispered to myself, this isn't clean justice. It's destruction. Yet I couldn't undo it. Robert's empire was built on sand, and I'd only removed the crutch he leaned on. Meanwhile, Ethan turned to social media, posting vague, dramatic updates about healing from betrayal and finding my value paired with moody photos. His followers offered sympathy, some even messaging me to call me the villain in his story. I didn't reply or defend myself online. The people who mattered knew the truth. But Margaret's final jab about the ring haunted me. The least he deserves. That sapphire wasn't just jewelry. It was a symbol of everything I'd given and everything they thought they could keep. If I let them hold on to it, they'd believe they'd won. I wasn't ready to let that happen. The ring became an obsession. Every time I recalled Margaret's smug demand, my resolve hardened. It wasn't theirs to keep. It was mine to give, and the promise it represented died when Ethan ended things. I didn't turn to my father's legal team. This was my fight. I hired a calm, methodical lawyer who handled personal disputes. We drafted a letter demanding the return of the $9,500 sapphire ring or face legal action. Silence followed, so we filed in small claims court. Meanwhile, Robert's world collapsed faster than I'd expected. Their grand home was listed for sale. Suppliers cut him off. Former employees posted online, blaming his mismanagement. Yet, through their ruin, the family still clung to arrogance. One evening, an email arrived from Ethan, bitter and sprawling. You're dragging us through the dirt over a ring while we're losing our home. How heartless are you, Emily? I read it twice, once as the woman who'd loved him, once as the one he'd betrayed. Then I forwarded it to my lawyer with a note, evidence. He admits they have the ring. The case moved slowly, with a court date set for the next month. During that time, signs of their downfall multiplied. A realtor's sign on their lawn. Furniture moved out at night. Margaret's once active social media silent. Still, they refused to return the ring. It became more than jewelry, a reflection of their entitlement, their belief they could take without consequence. When the court summons was served, I felt steady, not vengeful. This was accountability, a place where facts, not their arrogance, would decide. The courtroom was plain, fluorescent lights, hard benches, a far cry from Margaret's elegant living room where they dismissed me. I walked in with my lawyer, holding a slim folder of documents. Across the room, Ethan sat with his parents, looking diminished. Margaret's hair was pulled back tightly, her eyes shadowed. Robert slouched, his bravado gone. Ethan avoided my gaze. The case was straightforward. return the $9,500 sapphire ring. Ethan spoke for himself, delivering a trembling speech about our love, my betrayal, and the ring as a gift he deserved to keep. His voice broke at all the right moments, his hand reaching for Margaret's as if he were the victim. If I hadn't lived the truth, I might have been swayed. My lawyer was calm and precise, presenting the facts: engagement date, ring's value, Ethan's termination of the engagement, our request for the ring's return, and his email admitting they kept it. No theatrics, just evidence. The judge listened impassively, then addressed Ethan. Mr. Carter, an engagement ring is a conditional gift tied to marriage. When you ended the engagement, the condition failed. The ring must be returned or its value, $9,500, paid to Miss Stone within 10 business days. The gavel fell. Final. Silence filled the room, broken only by the hum of lights. Margaret's jaw tightened, her face a mask of defeat. Robert stared at the floor. Ethan looked stunned, as if the world had turned against him. A week later, my lawyer received an envelope. Inside was the sapphire ring, no note, no apology. I held it, its weight heavy with broken promises. For a moment, grief surfaced. The love I'd believed in, the future I'd lost. Then I placed it back in its box, closed it, and handed it to my lawyer. That chapter was done. In the weeks that followed, I expected to feel victorious, but the feeling was quieter. The ring was no longer theirs. Robert's company collapsed under debt. Their grand home sold at a loss, replaced by a small rental. Margaret's gossip faded. Ethan's cryptic post stopped. Their empire of arrogance was gone. Yet I didn't celebrate. There was no fanfare, just a calm breath I hadn't known I was holding. A friend told me Ethan tried one last time, claiming he'd made a mistake and still loved me. I didn't respond. I'd blocked every way he could reach me. Some doors stay shut. I started therapy not just to heal from the betrayal, but to confront my own blind spots. How I'd ignored red flags to make the relationship work. For 4 years, I'd believed love could outweigh disdain, that loyalty could soften cruelty. Losing Ethan taught me love shouldn't be begged for or conditional. Slowly, I rebuilt. Weekends became adventures with friends, filled with laughter that felt real. At work, I led a bold new project, proving I was more than a stepping stone. My bond with my father grew stronger. He'd taken a hit to support me, and that became my anchor. Over dinner one night, he said, "You fought your battle, Emily, and you won it your way. I'm proud of you." Those words outshone any court victory. Do I rejoice that Robert and Margaret lost their home, that Ethan wanders in the ruins of their legacy? No. What I feel is simpler: justice. I didn't cause their fall. I stepped aside and let their choices catch up to them. Their empire was fragile, and I'd been the only thing holding it up. When they discarded me, they lost their foundation. Now I move forward, lighter, not because I won, but because I let go. Their story is over. Mine is just beginning.